Hey guys, this is going to be lesson 1 of sampling. This is sampling some simple drum breaks that I've shown you in class, like the James Brown Funky Drummer and a couple of other ones. You can find these in this YouTube link. This is a link for you to download the song. This is roughly where in the song you want to chop the break. This is the BPM of the song, and this is some information about who has sampled these songs. By the way, shout out to Sophia and Doddsy for requesting this one. So the first one I'll do is the Billy Squier because it's a little bit easier than the other two, as you'll see. I'm going to use Ableton, not SoundBridge for this, unfortunately, because SoundBridge was being glitchy for the screen recording. It's the same process. So the BPM is 102. Do the same thing in SoundBridge, change it to 102. Find the track you want to sample, drag it in, wait a few seconds for it to load. I always make it nice and big so we can see it. So for this one's pretty easy because we're just taking the first beat. So I could drag it like this, or you can actually zoom in and chop it yourself. So you want to chop it right about here. So you can see there's nothing happening. This is silence. And then the waveform starts right about here. For SoundBridge is Command-Shift-S to chop. And then you can just delete the first part. Now, if you want to, you can zoom back out and drag your waveform right to the start. You can move the loop, or you can press Command L to loop. For me, I'm just going to turn this back on. Same shortcut in my software, Command L, and we should have this nicely looped. Now, I'm not going to play too much audio for this because I don't want to get done for copyright. So this beat actually starts like this. I actually find it samples and loops better from the second beat here. So I'm going to put a cut here, delete this, and I'm just going to take the second beat. I'm going to just check I didn't chop the beat too close. See, I did. So I'm going to move this one back across just a touch. So it's about there. Chop it there, delete this bit. And I'll check it loops nicely. That's all I'm going to play because copyright. So that's it for beat 1. Remember to save everything. Pretty much the same process in SoundBridge. Call it big beat. Okay, I already have this saved somewhere else. You also want to export it. Again, it looks a little bit different in SoundBridge. But in SoundBridge, it's in the bottom left. You got File, Export, Loop. So for me, I would go Export Audio. It's pretty much the same thing. I've made a folder for each of these breaks, and you can save it in here or in the folder, wherever you want to save it. Maybe I would create a folder just for my loops. This makes sense. So I'm going to save all my loops in here. This one was 102. This one is done now. Okay, so the second beat I'm going to chop is the Amen break, the most sampled beat ever. So this one is 138. So remember, before you bring it in, change your BPM to 138. Then you can go find the sample wherever you saved it, drag it in. Let's wait a second. I'm going to chop it around 126 seconds for this one. Bring it to the start. Let's move over to around 127. Now this one, you can actually see in the waveform here. Look, the waveform is pretty thick and full. And then you get to where it's very sharp and jaggedy. So you can actually see from the waveform, this is where the drum break starts. So I'll just play a tiny bit of it. The one on this track is quite difficult to find, actually. So it's right about here on bar 47. So if I zoom in this one, I would probably chop it right about here. I'm just doing it kind of rough, but yeah, this is where you want to chop. And again, you could just drag it to the nearest bar or drag it back to the beginning. Let's zoom in. Let's turn on this. And for this one, I'm going to delete this one. So we only need the start. This is like 1, 2, 3, 4 bars. But we actually really only want the middle 2 bars. So you could drag this one over here. The first bar we can get rid of. Get rid of the second bar. Press Command L. Let's check it loops. Yeah, I'm only going to play a few seconds again because copyright. Again, save it, done. easy. Let's move on to our final loop, the funky drummer. Now the BPM is 101.2. This is really important that you get that 0.2 so it loops perfectly. There's a DJ called Edan, who is a really good DJ and MC. He actually made a whole mixtape of a lot of hip hop songs that sampled the funky drummer break and used it in hip hop tracks. He made a whole mixtape, which is pretty cool. And this one is around 5 minutes 22. Okay, so I have this one. Let's jump to around 5 minutes. Oh, I accidentally found it perfectly. This is where you actually want to start the chop. That bing. So remember, he counts it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2. Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. 3, 4. Get it. Happened to fall on a beat for me, but I'm still going to zoom in and check so that the loop is perfect. So because it does a little bump here, I'm actually going to chop it just about here. Move it forward a second. Delete this section and let's drag this. So it's starting on 131 and let's loop a couple of bars. Now remember, we only need 1 bar of this, so we can zoom in here. Yeah, we can chop it here, delete this section, and we just have 1 bar. But this is where it gets a little bit trickier with this one because it starts with this. We want to get rid of that guitar. So how do we do that? Well, let's drag it out to that snare. It starts on the 2. Look, 1, 2 here. So we can drag this one, pull it back. I've just done it kind of rough. You can see I've actually done it too early. So I would drag it to about here. Bring this one back. We start on the snare. Drag this one out now. So now it should be perfect. Okay, but it's starting on the 2, 3, 4. So now the 1 is somewhere over here. This is the 1, the kick. Boom, boom, cap. So we can go ahead, cut the kick, move it to the side here, move this one back across here, move this one over here. And we want to make sure it's perfectly on the line here. So I might have to do it a few times because it's not snapping. And this is where in SoundBridge, sometimes you have to turn on the snap and turn it off again. There we go. Took a couple of goes. Now this one with the snap on, it should come right to the bar and you can press shift. I've grabbed this, press shift, grab this. You can right click. In my software, it's called Consolidate. In SoundBridge, you can click on the bottom left, edit and click merge. And now starts on the kick, boom, boom, clap. And that's it, done. Remember to save, remember to export your loop, and that's it. 3 loops, level 1 sampling, done, finito. Drop some comments of what you'd like me to chop and sample next, and I'll help show you next week. Okay, enjoy, bye.